Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from anthonymorganti.com. This is episode 17 of Photoshop for Photographers. Yesterday I received an email from Christina, and this is her image. And it's an HDR shot, and it's heavily processed, as you could see. It's a beautiful shot. And her problem, though, is she gets this smudging up here, and you can see up in the sky area you have this kind of dark smudging. And this is very common with HDR photography, or really anytime you really heavily process an image. You might send it out to a plugin like Nik, or send it out to a different plugin where you're really enhancing color and contrast, and you get this kind of smudging. Sometimes you get like a glow around things too, and it's real annoying, and it's relatively difficult to remove. And Christina asked me what she could do to cure this image. Well, in Photoshop you could do the same thing 1,000 different ways. So I'm going to show you 2 different ways to cure this specific image of this smudging. Now, actually this image is relatively easy because the sky here is relatively simple and has straight lines. What we're going to do for the first method is I'm going to use the quick selection tool, and the keyboard shortcut for the quick selection tool is W. I encourage you to learn keyboard shortcuts for Photoshop. It makes your workflow go a lot smoother and faster. Now, if this was a more complex selection, if we had tree branches jutting up in there, or the Eiffel Tower or something like that would be more difficult of a selection, we would have to use something other than the quick selection tool to select the sky. And I encourage you to watch previous episodes of Photoshop for Photographers where I demonstrate different selection tools, specifically the one where I extract a curly-haired model from her background and put her into a different scene. That would be a good method to extract or to select the sky that has like tree branches in it or something like that. But anyway, in this one here, as I said, we're going to use the quick selection tool. And we're just going to use the default settings for the quick selection tool and quickly select the sky. And you can see it did a pretty good selection, but over here it's a little messy. So we're going to clean that up. We're going to go to Refine Edge. And I'd like it on black, so I'm going to leave it on black, and I'm going to turn the I'm going to leave Smart Radius off, and I'm going to just bring radius up a little bit, maybe around 4 pixels or so, not a lot. And then I'm going to get the Refine Edge brush, and I'm going to get a slightly larger brush by hitting the right bracket key on my keyboard. And I'm just going to paint along this edge here to try to refine this edge a little better. And then I'm going to maybe paint around this building here a little bit too. Okay, now we refine that edge a little bit. I'm going to smooth it just a touch, just a little bit. And I'm going to go to contrast, since there's a lot of contrast between the sky and the overhang of the roof of the buildings. I'm going to just turn contrast up, and you can see how it's making this kind of like line here a little more refined. So I'm going to just turn that up a little bit. And that's good enough. I have a really nice selection now. And I'm going to leave it output to selection, and we're going to click OK. And as you can see now, I have a nicely refined selection of the sky. Now I want to bring that selection to its own layer. So I have a Mac, I'm going to hit Command J. If you have a PC, you'd hit Control J. And you can see now I have a layer here with just that selection on it. Now I want to reselect that selection, and to do that is very easy. Hold the Command or Control key in. Command if you have a Mac, Control if you have a PC, and just click right on that layer, and you can see our selection is back. Now I'm simply going to paint this like smudge away, and to do that I'm going to get the brush. So you hit B for brush. We're going to get a relatively large brush. So I'm going to use the right bracket key and get a relatively large brush. If you're using a mouse that has a center wheel, you could spin that wheel and you'll get a larger brush. Now I'm going to sample. If I paint right now, I'm painting black, as you can see. So we don't want that. So we're going to get rid of that. Now I want, first of all, I should jump up here and see opacity is at 44%. I want that at 100%. So we're going to turn opacity up to 100%. But I want to paint in the blue sky. So what we're going to do is we're going to sample this sky. We're going to hold the Alt or Option key. Alt if you have a PC, Option if you have a Mac. And you can see the cursor turns into a little eyedropper. What we're going to do is just sample the color by clicking with the left button of our mouse. And you can see in our tool palette here, the foreground color is now the blue sky. So we're using our brush, and it really doesn't matter if you're using a harder brush or a softer brush. Now, as long as that selection is there, wherever I paint is only going to be effective inside of the selection. And we're just going to simply paint away the smudge like that. Now, as I mentioned, I could paint over here, and you can see has no effect whatsoever. It only affects inside the selection. And really, I'm done with the image. So I could deselect this by hitting Command D. If you have a PC, it's Control D. And we're done. We have the sky repaired. Now, that's one method. I'm going to delete this now. And this, as I mentioned, is a relatively easy image to do because there's really no clouds up there. There's no tree branches and things like that. And if there were clouds in the sky, you'd have to probably use the clone stamp tool and clone a cloud and stuff like that so it looks more realistic. It would take a little more work to do that type of image. But what you could do, the other method I'm going to show you, is just replace this sky right out. And we're going to replace this sky with this sky. And this is an image I took last summer in Allegheny State Park in New York. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this image on top of the other image. So I'm going to get the Move tool. It's the top tool up here in the tool palette. You hit V is the keyboard shortcut for this tool. And we're just going to left click on it and drag it up to that other tab and simply drop it on top. So now we have this cloud layer on top of the original image. I'm going to turn this off. So I'm turning the clouds off by hitting this little eyeball right here. Now I'm going to make sure that I have the background selected. Alright, so make sure the background is selected. And we're going to get another quick selection of the sky. So I'm going to go to the quick selection tool W, and we're going to do this quick selection all over again. We have to refine this edge. I'm going to turn the smart radius up a little bit, and I'm going to get a slightly larger brush by hitting the right bracket key, and I am going to paint along this edge, and I'm going to paint along this building here, and then I'm going to smooth it a little bit, and I'm going to increase contrast quite a bit. And I'm going to output this to a selection again. We're going to click OK. And now you see we have a really nice selection of this sky in the original background image. Now I'm going to turn the top layer back on, and I'm going to select it by clicking on it. So I'm on that layer now, this layer with the sky. And you can see our selection is here. Do you see that? Now I'm going to go down here to the bottom right hand panel, and I'm going to click on the layer mask icon. It's a little rectangle with a circle in the middle, and when I click on that, magically our sky is now in the shot. Now we may want to move this sky around, so we could go to the Move tool, which is V, keyboard shortcut, and if I just move now, you could see it's like a jigsaw puzzle. We don't want that. So what we want to do is we want to move the whole image below that's, I guess, behind this main image. So what we're going to do is we're going to unlock it. We could see it's locked to the mask right here with this little chain by just clicking on the chain, and it's unlocked. Then we have to click on the image thumbnail itself. So we're not on the layer, we're on the, we're not on the mask, we're on the actual layer itself. Now we can move this around, and we can move it around to our liking. And if you want mountains in the background, you can move it up like that. But I want a little more blue sky because it's a little brighter of a day. So I wanted to kind of move it into a position where there's a little more blue sky in the shot. So something like that. And I think that's a very effective way to kind of get rid of that smudging that occurred in the shot. So that's it for episode 17. There's a couple different ways you could eliminate that smudging. And remember, if you have a more complex selection, you might have to use a different tool than the quick selection tool to select the sky. I'd like to thank Christina for sharing the image with us. Thank you very much. It's a great image, by the way, very well done. And I'd like to thank everyone that watches my videos. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.